Most of it, I would say probably a good 70% of all the business I do comes from doing business with other people. So make sure that you're marketing yourself by way of, your logo. Inevitably, one person that has a good event is going to tell 10 to 20.
Welcome to the Charcuterie Launch Lab Podcast, where passion meets profit. If you've ever dreamed of turning your love for charcuterie, or food of any kind, into a thriving online business, well then you're in the right place. We're Andrea and Patty, the Grazing Biz Sisters. With over 60 years combined experience as a chef and digital marketer, we have walked in your shoes starting our own online businesses. We'll share all of our tips, advice, struggles, and best strategies to help you launch and grow your own online foodie business with ease. The Charcuterie Launch Lab is a space for all food creators and entrepreneurs just like you. Let's dive in and get your yummy business launched online, one board at a time. Hey, hey, hey! It's your friends. It's your friends, Patty and Andrew here, the Grazing Biz Sisters. We're back with the Charcuterie Launch Lab Podcast. How are ya, sis? What's happening?
Hanging in there. For once, we've got a rainy day in northern Arizona. It's
Yeah.
dumping outside. Like, I
Wow.
don't think you guys can hear it on the microphone, but it is hitting my roof pretty hard.
It is
So,
right now. Wow.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
it
supposed
is,
to
which is
rain down
unusual.
here. So yeah, well that's good. We're getting ready for a big event next week. My baby is getting married. My
Mhm.
sister is making a big old charcuterie table for us. So we got a busy week and the whole family's coming in. But yeah, it should be good. Hopefully the weather doesn't get rainy because they're going to be out in the forest. But it's going to be fun, going to be fun. Well, today we were talking about, we're seeing a lot of people asking about where are you marketing? How is people finding out about you? And so we thought today I would pick Andrew's brain about, what she's doing to promote her business. Obviously, I don't have a charcuterie business. I have a marketing business.
Mhm.
But so we thought we'd just run through a few things that, we thought people were asking. But before we get started, why don't we start with just like how did you end up in the charcuterie business anyway? Because I think getting that was a good basis for everybody else understanding where we go from there and how and why you're marketing the way you do. So,
Well, I think we talked about it earlier. I've done food and beverage for 20 something years, and most of it being in the catering and banquets area of hospitality.
yeah.
But last year I had done the charcuterie board for your husband,
Hmm.
and actually it was a table, it was a countertop that we
Yeah.
did it on.
Right.
And Patty was just so blown away by, she watched me make it, and she was just so blown away by it. Like, I
Well,
think
everybody
most
that came,
people,
we had a
yeah,
party.
yeah, everybody, their jaws dropped. It was one of those situations where nobody wants to touch anything. And I finally had to say, please eat.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyways, that's where it started with that, and then we both put our heads together. I think people, hopefully by now, if you've been listening to our podcast, have some of our history regarding that particular day where we both did this light bulb above our heads going, why aren't we, making this work somehow between her and I? But with that said, that's how it starts for most people, is the whole, why don't you do this for a living? They're doing it for their friends, they're
Yeah.
doing it for their family, they're doing it for their office parties or whatever. And then all of a sudden they think somebody says, why don't you do this for a living? And then they that's how they get started. And
Yeah.
honestly, for marketing, that's how it works anyways. I mean, I just go to local events, and that's how they started. You shake some hands, you kiss some babies, and you may
Right.
do a few things for free. But we'll get into a little bit more detail with that, in this podcast,
Right.
so that people have not necessarily a step by step, because everybody should do it the way they feel like they need to do it. But you do have to shake some hands. That's the way it
Well,
works.
yeah, but I like it because what you're doing is basically a walking billboard. So if
Mhm.
you are making them for friends, there's
Right.
inevitably other people around because you don't just usually make a charcuterie board for one person. If you're, if the family's saying come over or your friends are saying come over. I mean, you obviously can because that's become a business for you, but I mean, anyway, I don't
Yeah.
think most people start that way. They're like, oh yeah, I can make you a board. If you have a
Yeah.
creative bone in your body, it shouldn't be too hard to do. So,
Right. It's the choice between having something fancy and beautiful or going and buying the plastic tray thing that you get at the grocery store, with the
right.
separate compartments and they just plop it on a buffet. You could do that.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
most people want to have something a little bit nicer these
Yeah.
days. They want to
Well, and
impress everybody.
it's everybody hanging around the table too, which I think is nice. So
Right.
you have to get it. You got to come go hang around, and then it's good. So so you brought up the fact that shaking hands and kissing babies, but what strategies have you really found to be the most effective for attracting customers in your area where you live and stuff like that?
Yeah, so most of it, I would say probably a good 70% of all the business I do comes from doing business with other people. So make sure that you're marketing yourself by way of, your logo, if they allow you to have your cards or even, every little, what do you call
Up.
them? The little sticks with the
Right.
name of the cheeses and stuff has the logo on it. Inevitably, one person that has a good event is going to tell 10 to 20,
Yeah.
or there's going to be however many people at that event that saw whatever it is that you did and just, and then your best marketing is yourself. And it doesn't mean you have to stand there and shake hands and kiss babies, but you do want to make sure your products and what you're bringing to the table is
Oh,
every
for sure.
single one has to be special because
Hmm.
that's what people are seeing. You
Right.
can't have a bad experience. And that's the great thing about charcuterie boards is, unless you're just slapping it together and you don't care, it's always going to come across as a passionate business. And
Hmm.
that's the wonderful thing about it. And I think that's why it's so popular
Right.
now.
Well, again, I mean, it goes back to somebody comes to that party or whatever, and there might be 10 people there
Hmm.
because you created this board for a friend or whatever. And then they're all asking, gosh, who did this? I want to have this. And they're going to remember it when the time comes. It's just similar to the real estate industry where, hey, I'm looking for a good agent and you did a good job for somebody and now you're getting referred out. And that's exactly what you want. That's the best business really ever.
Hmm.
But you do want to make sure you've got somewhere for people to go to see what you offer. And of course, having a website and all that was always not a bad idea. That
Yeah.
can actually, take orders or at least show people what you do. So there's that side of it, but we can talk about that in a minute.
Hmm.
So let's see. Let me think. Hold on a second, but I've lost the page where I need to go to. Oh. Um, okay. So, how is it that you're leveraging the community to build your brand and loyalty and repeat customers then? Are you doing any kind of outside marketing in your community or how are you showing up somehow where, physically
Yeah.
or like are you in groups, Facebook group or, what are you doing for
Of
that?
course, you have the option to give. So I'm lucky enough that my daughter is working for a title company here in our neighborhood. And so on occasion, in the beginning, I haven't done them in a while. And actually, they just asked me recently if I would bring in, and this time they're going to pay for it. But there were other
Well, that's
times where I
nice.
first, well, because in the beginning, I was doing it for free so I could put my stuff out there. So on Fridays is typically the day that they have a lot of closings. There's a lot of real estate
Yeah.
agents. There's a lot of people who just bought their house coming in to do the signings.
Right.
So my daughter will tell me what day those days are going to be and be busy. And I will make a board. And the last time I did it, I did not cups, but I did these little small charcuterie boards, little mini ones. And those ones went over like hotcakes. She couldn't believe how they went over. People were oohing and awing over them, and they handed them over to some of the clients that were coming in to sign.
Oh, fun.
And yeah, it was fun.
Not
And
sure I heard
those
about this.
were
That's awesome.
yeah, so those were just some leftovers, that I had from a market that I did. Because here in Arizona, we can go to markets and have a pre-packed goods. We can't do the charcuterie cart without a vendor license, but without a food vendor license, but we can pre-pack everything. I put them in coolers. I took them to the market with my other food products that I sell and sold those as little
Hmm.
mini charcuterie boards. So I had a few left over. I sent them to my daughter, and my stickers are on the front of them because they are wrapped in plastic so they don't
Awesome.
maneuver and move around. And she gave them away to clients as they came in for signings. And I think a couple of the real estate agents ended up
Yeah,
with
I
too.
was just
So,
going to say that what you ought to do if you haven't done this part yet, people, or you, is
mhm.
to really reach out to the real estate industry, real estate agents, because they're always looking for closing gifts, and a closing gift
Yes.
is house closes, and they want to give a gift to the either the seller for, let me thanking them for letting me be their agent, or to the buyer and say, hey, welcome to your new home. It's a warm
Right.
housewarming gift. What an amazing gift that would be. And, right, if you had a board, which we saw where somebody had bought a brander, I mean, this branding
Yeah,
thing
I
where they were
saw that.
branding the boards, which was so cool.
Yeah.
I love that idea. And they branded their info. So I used to give away knives, Cutco knives, and the handles on there had all my information on them. So these things are in their drawer. So
Right.
they're using them. These were good knives too. We still have them. And that's great branding is similar to that, where now you've got this
Yeah, I
board.
right.
Yeah.
I love that idea. That lady on one of our Facebook groups, in our Facebook group, she bought a branding iron from somebody on Etsy that does them. And yeah, and she basically had the same little mini boards that I had, only she branded it. And
Yeah.
so even though the branding was covered up by the charcuterie, when they got done eating the charcuterie, there it is. She's
Yeah.
in their face, so and
Yeah.
they're not gonna throw that board out, likely. They're gonna use it for other things so that her info is always just gonna be right there in her name. So
Well, and yeah, that just
that's a
actually
great idea.
brings up a good idea too, because you could put your branding on the bottom of it or on the handle, but
Right.
then you could actually maybe have somebody burn a new homeowner, the people's name, like the homeowner's
Yeah.
name in it for
Right, right.
the agent. So there's a whole other side of it, but then they come and deliver this beautiful thing. Holy mackerel. Yeah, because I
Point
saw
is,
one.
be creative. Be
Yeah,
creative, and that's how you're going to get your name out.
right.
Whatever way you need to. Of course, your work, because I do consider this a craft and
Hmm.
art. So your work is going to speak for itself, but you want to make sure that people know you're the
About
one
you.
that did it. Yeah.
So I will also bring this up because we both know a little about that real estate industry side of it, is that title companies, at least in Arizona, I know not all of the states are allowed to do this, but if you're in a state where somebody is promoting a class, because us agents have to get continuing education, what happens is the title companies in many of the states actually put the classes on. And you can either get continuing ed or you just go for a free class. Like I actually teach both. Anyway, bottom line, what I'm trying to say is you as a vendor, Andrea, can
Hmm.
go in and actually be part you could contribute toward that class by saying, I want to bring a charcuterie board in because us agents love to eat. And
Yeah, yeah.
you can bribe these people to come to the class because they know they're going to get food. And usually I always tell people, bring food, make sure. Then lenders, title companies, and somebody else, third party, the Cutco people came in, the knife people. Anyway, you could go in and actually become one of those vendors, and now you're in front of a whole room full of real estate agents. And
Hmm.
if you just had nothing but real estate business, what's great about that is that you can plan that in advance because they always know when they're going to close, and
Yeah,
they will
yeah,
tell
yeah.
you, I need them on these dates. And if they want to have it the day they close, they'll bring it to their house, they'll leave it in there, or they'll meet up with them or whatever, or at the closing table when they go to sign. So
Hmm.
it's like, to me, it is the easiest way. And not many real estate agents do this. They don't, as
Right.
far as that kind of gift.
And
So,
I do have the real estate agents, the few of them in my neighborhood, from that and
Hmm.
bringing that up. That's a great idea.
Right.
In fact, I might even think about doing that. Not that I need any more business, but you can never have enough business because you never know,
Figure
you're
it
going
out.
to have
Hire
waves,
people,
you
right?
know. Yeah,
Right.
I might go a week or two with very little, and then the next week I'm so
Yeah.
slammed I don't know what's happening.
And I
That's where the
continue.
calendar comes in handy. Just so
Right,
everybody.
right. Okay,
The calendar
so
with your CRM is huge because that's
right.
how you control it.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Well, we did talk about that in the last podcast. So if you missed our last episode 11, we went through, getting your site up and ready so people have somewhere to go. And also if somebody orders, it all can be automated, without having to call you necessarily. It could schedule ahead. But, I'm not going to spend a lot of time
Yeah,
talking
we're not
about it.
going to do that.
Go back and watch and
But
listen
I mean,
because,
it's invaluable
yeah,
because you need that in order to organize your day
right,
and organize your week in order to, unless you want
right.
to be working around the clock and making those phone calls, that sucks. So, anyways, with that said, that's a good call because I
Yeah,
forgot that my daughter's office, which is a title office, actually has a classroom in it now
yep.
that I remember. It's always dark and empty in there because I go in there all the time and drop things off
They
and
don't teach.
switch out grandchildren and stuff. And I always see that classroom and there's nobody in it.
Nobody in it.
But
Yeah.
you can see that people have used it because there's water bottles and
Yeah,
garbage.
yeah, they got to have those. That's what draws
Right.
people in and
Right.
agents. But so let's
But
get
anyways,
back.
that's like the biggest thing is just doing those kind of, and in this case, it's not necessarily always free, but doing as much as you can for community, just community awareness of your business and joining those networking groups, business groups. I have a couple here that I belong to, the women's one, and then there's just a main
Well,
one for the
Chamber of
area.
Commerce, you can always
Yeah.
do BNI,
Mhm.
which is a networking. It costs a little bit, but I know my son, who's in the video world, my older son, is just an advocate of BNI, which is networking across the nation, basically. And
Mhm.
you go to these groups and you get a chance to promote yourself. So that's another way to do it. And it's worth it. For him, it's totally worth it. Most of his business has come from that. So,
Mhm.
look into all of those networking type groups locally if you really want to get into that. So let's go back to, you brought up the markets. Let's talk about that a
Yeah.
little bit. So you're able to go here in Arizona. Again, it's all based on where you live, right? Do your research, make sure you know what you have to do, but
Mhm.
you can go to the markets, do pop-ups,
Yep.
catering gigs and things like that. So let's talk about the market though. I'm really kind of curious. Like I know I did it, but I didn't have that kind of perishable food, but I still had to go through. I did it with my donuts. If everybody
Yeah,
remembers the
she had mini
story, I had
donuts.
a mini
Yeah.
donut vending. Uh, anyway, it's a different
Surprising we
story.
didn't gain like hundreds of pounds during that
Oh, I
time
did. I
frame.
gained. It was the only reason my husband married me. He's total donut free. When we went on our first date, this is a totally different story. But I sat down and we were in a bar or something, and I said, he goes, "What do you do?" Well, I'm getting my license. I was getting my real estate license, but on the side, I have this mini donut vending business. And his eyes got as big as donuts. He goes, "Did you know that my favorite food group is donuts?" I'm like, oh, we're going to get along well. But when we finally did, that first date after that conversation, we ended up at Krispy Kreme and ate a whole dozen donuts. And then at our wedding day, we stacked up 14 dozen Krispy Kreme donuts for our wedding. So, for our cake. So, anyway, it was a
Yeah,
different
I was
story.
there for that. I was
That
that.
was
I was the
funny.
food
Yeah,
and
you
beverage
were.
director
I
for
know.
that
That's
for
funny. But
that
anyway,
particular.
the market thing, yeah, you gotta know at your local health department, but you brought up about keeping things cold and all of that, and I think
Hmm.
that's the key, right? Because there's going to be requirements on that. But how did you market those though? So if they were in a cooler, I mean,
Yeah.
how did you do? Did you put them on the
So I
table
had,
or?
right. That was a little bit tough one. I've only done two, well, let's see, maybe three of them now. And the first one, I sacrificed one of the boards.
Mm,
So what I did was I put it in this plastic container on the table with all my other food products. I sell dry mixes
soups
that
and things,
I've
yeah.
created, dry soup mixes and muffin mixes and things. But anyways, I had it on the table and I had it in this little, like, I don't know, dollar store box with ice in it, and I put it on top of the ice. Now, here's the thing, that didn't keep it cold enough on the top.
Yeah.
to be servable, but that one got sacrificed
Yeah.
because it was a display. So you can either do it that way, or you can also, so the next one, in lieu of losing that one, I created some little signage, that I had on the board, on the table with all the other stuff that I
Hmm.
that I sell. So, and I sold them that way. And so there's, be creative. Also let people know you have them,
Have a
so
sign,
when
yeah.
they come up, hey, are you hungry? I've got charcuterie boards already made and ready to go.
And they
It's
were very cute. They were about this
They're
big,
super
right?
tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, here it is here. Sorry, I'm going off screen for a sec. So here it is here. You could see it's
oh,
just
yeah. And then you
like
put plastic over the
nine
top of
inches,
it.
I think is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
yeah, and then the whole thing was, so I decorated everything and then the whole thing was wrapped in plastic so it looked nice and neat. And then I had the sticker like right on
Yeah.
the top.
Nice. Yeah.
So easy
Cool.
to do. I didn't make a ton of them for any event because, you never know. And you don't want to have a lot of waste. But I
Yeah.
wanted to see how they did. And they did really well, much better than I expected.
Cool.
These events were not super busy. So I
What'd you
think I'm
charge for it? Hey, 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 Charcuterie Launch Lab listeners. I've got some exciting news for you that you do not want to miss. We're launching the free webinar bootcamp that we're calling the Charcuterie Business Bootcamp. Turn your charcuterie passion into profits in less than 2 weeks. Whether you're just starting out or looking to scale your charcuterie business, this bootcamp is packed with actionable strategies to help you monetize your passion quickly and effectively. In this webinar bootcamp, you'll learn the important things to consider when starting your business. We'll both be here to teach you everything from what you need to know about licensing, health certification and insurance, to creating your menus, pricing for profits and branding, to how and where to create your online presence with an easy-to-build website, automatically taking orders, and growing it through innovative marketing with or without ads. Spaces are limited, so don't wait. Head on over to grazingbiz.com/bootcamp. That is grazingbiz.com/bootcamp to reserve your spot today. Transform your love for charcuterie into a thriving online business. The bootcamp is free, so sign up today. We can't wait to see you there.
I charge $9. The cost of the whole thing together was $1.30. So, with the food and the board
Right.
and everything. So, I was making, how does that make it? It makes it like, I don't know, 70, 80%
Mm-hmm.
um, upcharge on those. So, you
Right.
can do really well. It didn't have that much on it. I mean, it had a few pieces of nice floured looking salami. The key to it, and I know I keep saying this, is the value added. Learn your garnishing. Learn how to
Yeah.
do garnishing because that's going to be what's going to sell your boards. The niceness, the neatness, the balancing
Bright
of the
colors.
flavors and
Yeah.
everything,
Yeah.
the
Right.
colors and all that
Yeah.
jazz. So,
Yeah, I was watching some video this morning where the gal says she goes over to what was it, Trader Joe's, which I don't know if that's everywhere, but
yeah.
and she was buying everything there, which I thought was kind of surprising, but she just buys it all. It was because some of it wasn't, I don't think, the cheapest. But anyway, she bought all the stuff there, and then she said something about the green grapes are prettier and crispier, which did not realize, because I think there's I mean, you can get a lot of red out of tomatoes and fruit,
Yeah.
like berries, but I guess that green color, that's that color. Anyway, she was talking about that, and I'm like, oh, you don't even think about that stuff sometimes, but I guess you're doing it daily. That makes sense.
Yeah, if you're doing it daily, I mean, that's why on my menus, it does say everything. I always have the disclaimer of everything is based on availability. So you may not get the grapes this time, or you may not get,
Right.
I don't know, whatever this time because that doesn't look good. You
Doesn't
know
look
how
good.
strawberries and
Yeah, whatever's
berries are?
available. All right.
Sometimes they don't last long, and then the stores they look terrible, and
Yeah.
so be picky about your products too,
Mm-hmm.
guys.
Yeah.
Don't just slap it on there because you put it on your menu. Always have that disclaimer that you may not get that exactly. Because if it looks terrible, please don't put it on there.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Well, and if you're looking for ingredient lists and stuff like that, so the places where you get, we include this in our course, so it's part of what
Mhm.
we offer, but you provide a big list of the best place to get food, ingredients and things like that. So if you're brand new at this, and if you've been in it a while, you probably know all the places to go. But if you're new at this, that's part of what we offer in our course that we have that you can check out at grazingbiz.com and check
Mhm.
out what we got going. But we've got different ways to help you with the software and just how to get started. But so let me ask you this. You mentioned in the past you had collaborations with local business, other local
Oh yeah.
businesses.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about how that works and how you connected with these folks.
Yeah, I was going to mention that too, so I'm glad you did. So wineries. I have a lot of wineries around here
Oh
because
yeah.
this area is known for the wine.
Hmm.
Yeah, believe it or not, Arizona does make wine, and we have a good
Not too
area
bad.
for it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not too bad. We got the right climate.
you do up there.
So we have those wineries and tasting rooms and whatever. Even if you have a beer, let's say you've got a brewery place,
Oh yeah.
beer and cheese go together. Hey,
Hmm.
beer and salami go together. So, hook up with those places. Say, hey, if I can come in, if you have a charcuterie cart, or even if you're doing like what I'm doing, which is, pre-wrapping everything and bringing it in and selling it, you can do it that way. And it's a collaboration with the local businesses. You can go and do them at the wineries. You can go and do them at, again, markets. We talk about markets, but I mean, there's so many opportunities that people don't even see in front of their face. Book places, if they're doing some kind of event, because the book places do a lot of vintage book places do a lot of
Yeah.
events and stuff too.
Oh
I mean, there's
yeah.
just,
Bookstores. Hmm.
yeah, bookstores. I don't know why I was saying, what did I say? Book place. I
Book
don't
place.
know.
Reminds me,
Having a senior moment.
I was
Maybe it's because
watching
I have
Nani.
different hair. My hair like
Yeah, did you
made,
notice that? She got new hair.
yeah, everybody noticed I cut it all
It looks
off.
nice. Yeah.
Lost like a foot and a half of hair. So, anyways, that's another good thing. But I mean, look around. There's a
Yeah,
lot of
didn't you
businesses that
though
are,
collaborate or talk to people while you were at a market too? There were people. Now, I
yeah.
think this might have been related to your other mixes and stuff you were doing, but that you were when you're at these markets, there might be other vendors there that would be great companions to what you do too. So
Mhm.
I would think that would be a good place to take a minute and go. I know if you're there by yourself, it's hard, but you can scope out what everybody else is doing and see, hey, maybe we can
Mhm.
collaborate. I can sell your stuff, you can sell mine. I mean, I don't even
Right,
think that
right.
would be a problem if you weren't competing with them on it. How it would be a nice compliment, and then maybe they make a few
Yeah.
bucks off of what you have, like affiliates sell it, right? Where and I'll
Hmm.
put some
For
of your stuff.
example,
Yeah.
yeah, for example, there's a million people selling jellies. I do get jellies on occasion
Ah,
from
see.
this older lady. She makes like, the pepper jellies and all that jazz. She makes these cactus jellies, prickly
Yeah.
pear jelly. So you can hook up with them. You can hook up with the bakeries. There's lots of micro
Yeah.
bakeries and cottage bakeries. They're selling their stuff at the markets. You can hook up with those guys. I personally have not done it, but I have thought about it. And the only
Hmm.
reason I haven't done it is because I'm busy enough. I don't need
Yeah, you
to.
don't need to,
But,
but yeah.
you do what you need to do or what you think works best for your business.
Right.
And the markets, honestly, going to these markets I only do one or two a month, if that, at this point. But in the beginning, I was doing them every weekend that I could.
Yeah.
And those are where I have a QR code with my banner so people they don't need to take the card. They can, scan the QR code on my banner, which is huge. It's probably about, I don't
I
know, a foot
love
and a half
that.
wide on the
Right.
banner.
We have
So they
QR
scan
codes in our
it.
system that we can
Yeah,
hook you
yeah.
to your website too. Yeah. Um,
Right. For each landing page, you can have your QR code,
everything.
whatever it is you want to do.
Yeah.
So that QR code just takes them directly to my homepage, and then from there they do what they need to
Pick
do.
out what
But
they need.
yeah,
Good
it's
idea.
that I think for me, those markets have turned out the best. Now in Arizona, we have that opportunity where we can produce those and bring them to market and not have to spend extra money or have a different kind of licensing.
Yeah.
Again, check your
Depends on
licensing
what
and
it
see.
is. Okay, well, let's,
Lots of opportunities to do like a 1 day license.
yeah.
They let you
Oh,
do that.
oh, that's nice.
1 day
Yeah.
food license. Yep.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, you still got to
So,
follow all the health rules. You can't just show up
right.
out of the, woodwork. Okay, right?
Right. A lot of the charcuterie carts, for those of you out there, I know that's a big thing in our Facebook group right now. Make sure you're checking, obviously, to see what the rules are. But if you can do a market and maybe you have to set up a hand washing stand to go with it, and you would have to go get a 1 day special food vending license for that market, try it out
Yeah,
because the business that you're going to get from that is invaluable.
yeah,
You could never spend enough money to get what you're going to get from it. It's
right.
huge.
And I
So,
think, if you can go to events like that, either a market or just show up at, what they call in bottomless like charcuterie, they pay a flat fee for a certain number of hours to you,
oh yeah.
and you
Mhm.
just fork it over, and you're not charging per unit. That's good. But we're getting off the subject here a little bit. But and I did want to bring up, you've mentioned the group a couple times in case people haven't joined our group. We are in
Yeah.
Facebook, and it's called Start Your not Charcuterie, Start Your
Mm.
Charcuterie. Start your shark. I guess she was hollering at me over that. Start your charcuterie business. Just go search us on Facebook. Took me a long time, and I've only said it a few times since.
I
Um,
was watching a TikTok the other day, and this guy must have said charcuterie, I don't know, 20 times in a 30-minute video. And I'm like, you're killing me. I'm gonna have to swipe. I can't do it.
oh gosh. All right, so let's wrap this up. I got one
Yeah.
last question for you, and so that is, what kind of advice would you give people if they're just getting started to start getting their name out there? I know we've talked just a whole bunch about some of that stuff, but like, what would be the first thing you would think someone should plan to do, right, to get their name out there?
Well, you want to make sure, I feel like, and this is what I did first because I had to do it with you.
Hmm.
And this is not just a pitch for what we offer, but it is, you want to have that website ready. You want to have the website ready with the options. So, unfortunately, in this world, the website, the Facebook page, the Instagram page, whatever it is, TikTok that you're using to advertise yourself, those things actually make it legitimate. It
Hmm.
sucks, but
More
that's what it is.
trustworthy.
It makes you trustworthy. And here's the thing, in the last 2 weeks, for whatever reason, I don't know how this happened, I ended up being offered a place with the Better Business Bureau. I now am an accredited member of the Better, and you have to be invited for that. And from what I understood from the lady, this happened by way of just people either searching for me or saying, hey, this business is great. You might want to look them up, that kind of thing. And that has offered me already this week an enormous number of opportunities. I'm getting all these people reaching out to me for different things. It's not all involving charcuterie, it's involving other things too. But they want to make sure that you're legitimate because in this world, everything is scammy.
God, I'm
And
telling you.
so the
Yeah,
more legitimate you can be online, which is website, which is having those pages where people can see you, where they can see you doing your work,
right.
that's massive. That
Yeah.
would be the first start of any business, I would say, at this point, because everything else is just going to float
Yeah.
right along.
So it goes back, and I always keep throwing this in here because that's my background, but it's the same thing with agents. Agents who don't want to go get a site because they say nobody goes there. And I go, well, no one's going to go there till they start researching you. So, and
Right.
they're not going to go there unless you start pushing it out there. So you need to have somewhere for people to go. And
Hmm.
what I'm going to recommend too is that I think some of the easiest thing you can do is get your site up, obviously, or get one landing page up for the next holiday, which by the way is all included in what we provide. But and all you're doing is adding your menus. But your goal is to get into some of the local food groups. And I know we've talked about this.
Hmm.
There's a
Hmm.
number of them down where I live. And there is up in your neck of the woods too, where there are people just looking and giving feedback and testimonials on places that they've been or food that they've eaten. And if you can get in that world and just join the group, but you got to be careful. Like I said, be
Hmm.
careful because you don't want to go in there and just start promoting. but depends on what the group is because some of them are meant for that. And you need to go on to social and figure out where all that is and run some searches and for your city and just type in food in your city. And these
Hmm.
groups will probably show up and then you can get in there and hopefully be, one of the people, give feedback on. And if you can get your clients that you have to go in and actually give feedback on you, that would be a really
Hmm.
great way too,
Hmm.
because then the word's going to get out. And I can't stress enough how important it is that you get your business in Google My Business. And we go through how to do that. But if you just go and go Google My Business, how do you get it set up? It's not that hard.
Hmm.
There's a few steps you have to take, but once you're on the map and you start getting reviews, you want to push people to give you reviews and and then, make sure that you respond to anybody who's going to give you a review too, because Google loves all that. So if you need help with it, obviously this is stuff we do, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But, I mean, if you don't and you're doing your thing, just do everything you can to get out there. And social is the best way. I mean, back in the day, I don't
Hmm.
know, we had yellow pages. I mean, we're old enough to
Yeah.
say that. It's like I wasn't marketing like that back then, thank God.
Well, so if you join the local foodie groups in your neighborhood or your area or even just your community page, eventually there'll be somebody out there that goes, "Hey, I need a charcuterie board for
Yeah,
Easter.
who knows
If there's
somebody,
so many people, who do you guys suggest?" And all of a
right?
sudden, that's where you can jump in and say, "Hey, I make them." Or somebody else
Right,
who's ordered one of your boards will say, "Hey, this person
right.
made this board for me for, Super Bowl and it was
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah,
Try them out. Here's the website." You
yeah.
know, they'll
If you're
give
allowed to
you
put a link in the social, so just be
right. A lot
careful
of
about
times they
that.
don't,
Yeah,
but sometimes they'll allow you just to get tagged in the
yeah.
post if you're part of the group. So get on those groups
Get in
and
those
be as
groups.
active as you can. I usually do it in the morning when I'm sitting there drinking my coffee and waiting for my grandson to show up, or in the evenings when I'm chilling out watching the news. That's, I
Yeah,
do it in downtime where it's
yeah,
not boring. It's not obligation. It's fun to go
yeah,
through and, you know,
yeah. I mean, I
go
think
through those
most,
posts and see what you see.
right, most of my business has been word of mouth like
Mhm.
that. So, and if you can show up and provide advice too, you can do a lot of that where you can just go in and do advice. And the more that you post, the more that you show up as kind of more of a, and I don't want to say expert, but somebody who's more of a contributor in the group, and then
Yeah.
your posts will be tend to get seen
Right.
more. So
Right.
you also don't want to just go in there and take. You want to
No, no.
post and comment on
Mhm.
other people's things to try to help in the group because that's what these groups are a lot for, to help others in the neighborhood and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know if we cover it at all because we
Oh,
could
that
go on for
we
hours,
could go
but
on and on. This is a much deeper
great
subject
subject.
matter than I thought. So maybe we'll do a part two on this somewhere down
Yeah,
the road. But this is the best way to get started,
yeah,
peeps,
love
is
it.
get yourself legitimate, make sure it's all good, and then get out there and, make
Yeah.
yourself known. And the great thing about it, it doesn't cost any money. I haven't spent any money on marketing. The money I spend is going into my software, and that's it.
Yeah,
And that is, again, an invaluable resource. But the rest of it, I don't spend any money on marketing. It's
right,
just me being involved, and it's not hard to do.
right.
So,
Well, and the
and I'm an
key to,
introvert. So,
yeah, yeah, I
so
know, believe
even
me.
though I don't
Uh,
seem like it, but I am.
She's the opposite of me, but I'm pulling
Yeah.
it out of her whether she likes it or not. So yeah, and I just want to refresh everybody too, because if you're having people come to your site, you want to try to collect email addresses so you can have
Mhm.
pop-ups and things pull up on your site so people can sign up for discounts in the future and things like that. And then they get into your software, which is contact relationship management software, and we go into all that. So go to and listen to our podcast number 11 and you'll hear all about that. But then you've got them in your world and then you can email them when you have specials. If they give you their phone number, you can text them. And a lot of people want to have that. Yeah, I want to know if there's a special, especially if I'm really into what,
Mhm.
getting offered. But yeah, so if
Right.
you need anything that we're talking about in the show notes, just go through all of our podcasts episodes. There might be something else in there. If you love what we're doing and you know somebody else who might like it, can you share it? That would be awesome.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
That would be so fun. And then, we'd love to hear from you if you have a subject that you have an interest in. So go to our show notes and there's a bunch of links there that you can get help from if you need help. And we have free goodies in there too. Our charcuterie calculators there. It's free. And join us on YouTube. We're everywhere. We're trying to be anyway.
Right.
Because I'm bound and determined to stop spending as much time as I am in the real estate industry these years. I'm just I'm over it, but I still got to do it. So what it is. But anyway, everybody, we're glad you joined us.
Andrea, thank you.
Anything to
see you
say?
next time.
See you next, or see and hear you next time, or hear us next time.
However it happens.
Whatever. Yeah. All right, folks, we'll see you. Thanks for joining us.